Drinking and driving is one of the leading causes of serious vehicle accidents in Canada. In fact, impaired driving kills or injures more people than any other crime. Hence, our strict impaired driving laws and penalties. Today, we'll go over those federal and provincial laws and some car insurance impacts too. One clarification, in this video, we're talking about alcohol impairment. Keep in mind, there are rules for using other drugs and driving too, and most of them are much stricter. There's an abbreviation you're going to hear throughout this video, BAC. BAC stands for blood alcohol content or concentration. It's the percentage of alcohol found in a blood sample. A BAC of 0 is sober. In most cases, once someone's BAC is 0.08, they'll have impaired judgment and coordination. From 0.15 to 0.3, they'll experience nausea, confusion, and loss of muscle control. And for many, 0.4 BAC is fatal. It is very difficult to estimate your own BAC. You'll find BAC calculators online, and they can try to estimate BAC using the number of drinks consumed, time, and body weight. But these are purely for educational purposes. You should never use them to rationalize driving after drinking. There are too many other variables that can lead to a person being more impaired than they realize. Now, let's talk about testing BAC. Most impaired driving is discovered through roadside tests. In Canada, police can demand a breath sample from any driver they've legally stopped. But roadside samples don't give a precise BAC, and they aren't admissible in court. For now, just know that the roadside tests show a warn range and a fail range. Now, let's start with criminal impaired driving laws. Criminal. Canada has two levels of drinking and driving laws. Federal, which apply to the whole country, and provincial, which are different in every province. Federal impaired driving laws are the serious ones, dealing with criminal level impaired driving. The BAC limit for criminal impairment is 0.08. If a roadside breath sample detects a BAC over 0.08, it will show a fail. For a first conviction, the penalties are at minimum a $1,000 fine and a maximum 10 years in prison. A second conviction ranges from 30 days to 10 years in prison, and the third offense and any past that have penalties from 120 days to 10 years in prison. There are also escalating fines for people who register a BAC of 0.12 or higher. These are criminal offenses, so there's a legal process, likely including a trial, before penalties get handed down. That's different from provincial penalties, many of which are automatic. Let's talk about those. Federal laws deal with drivers registering a BAC of 0.08 and above. Most provincial laws set additional penalties in the fail range too, but provincial laws also deal with BACs below 0.08 in the warn range. Each province sets its own warn range, but most of them are from 0.05 up to 0.079 or 0.8. There can be penalties for a BAC below the warn range too, especially for people with special licenses, like learner's licenses or professional drivers while they're on the job. One thing provincial laws all have in common though, is that these aren't criminal penalties. Many warn range penalties can be assessed right there on the side of the road. For example, most provinces allow for an immediate roadside license suspension for impaired drivers. There are also fines, and for serious or repeat offenses, vehicle impoundments, mandatory treatment programs, and ignition interlock devices. That's a breath test device installed right in your car. It would take hours to go over every law in every province. So there's a link to an article with a province-by-province detail in the description below. But as an example, let's quickly look at Ontario's impaired driving laws. Ontario's warn range is 0.05 to 0.079. The first offense in that range gets a 3-day license suspension and a $250 fine. The second offense gets a 7-day license suspension, a $350 fine, and a mandatory enrollment in a treatment program. The third offense gets a 30-day suspension, $450 fine, mandatory treatment, and a 6-month interlock device requirement. There are more penalties for drivers in the fail range too. like an automatic 90-day license suspension, $550 fine, a 7-day vehicle impoundment, and more. Ontario also has a third level of penalties for drivers who are convicted of criminal impairments. We're talking license suspensions ranging from 1 year to forever. Finally, Ontario also has a zero-tolerance policy for young and novice drivers. A driver under 21 or who's part of the graduated licensing program can't have any alcohol in their system. Now, what happens with car insurance and impaired driving? You're about to find out. Believe it or not, insurance companies would prefer that their customers don't drink and drive. Crazy, right? There are a few ways impaired driving can impact a person's car insurance, and none of them are good. First, there's claims. Most car insurance policies exclude coverage for driving while impaired. That means an impaired driver would have to pay for both their own repairs as well as any other damages for which they're liable. Second, impaired driving convictions will increase a person's car insurance premiums, and there's no set rule for how much they'll increase. But expect the extra premiums to be at least $100, if not more than $1,000 per year. Many insurers don't offer car insurance to drivers with even one impaired driving conviction. Someone convicted of impaired driving could have their existing policy canceled too. Once that happens, they'd have to get insurance from a special provider for high-risk drivers, which is not cheap. In the provinces with public insurers, a high-risk driver still gets insurance from the usual provider. They'll just pay a lot more. So that's the rundown on drinking and driving laws in Canada. If you have any questions on this topic or any other home or car insurance topics, let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe on the roads, and I hope you found this helpful. Stands for blood alcohol 0.08 to 0.3. You're not allowed to drink!